comes my way. I'm thankful for all I am and all that I can do. Oh, sweet spirit, I can only thank you. I have gratitude. Whoa, I have gratitude. I count my blessings every single day.
I ran across a story recently about a group of black young men who were from the west side of Chicago. The story starts out in the 1990s, and they were students at Manly High School. And on a particular day in April, they showed up for Career Day. Now that may seem pretty odd to some of you who know about the west side of Chicago or know about Manly High School, because in the 1990s, Manly High School was the most violent high school in the United States. And kids from the west side didn't go to Career Day. But these kids were promised pizza, so they showed up. They walked into the lunchroom and they saw a peculiar sight. The first thing they saw was a white man. And the second thing they saw was a big, long, narrow boat. And this particular group of kids had never seen a boat before. The man they met was Ken Alpart. And his desire was to bring some of these kids together and create teams, rowing teams, to compete on the water. These kids didn't even have an idea about getting out of high school and going to college. What they had their minds set on was survival, and what gang would they join when they had the opportunity. But on this particular day, something changed for all of them. And they started to realize that there was another opportunity, another idea, something else that they could do with their lives. Mary Mazzio put this documentary together, and it's entitled, A Most Beautiful Thing. These kids were asked in the interviews on this video if they had ever witnessed death. And the answer was 100% of them had. And 100% of them had witnessed it before the age of 12. This heart-wrenching and heart-opening story is beautiful. Arshay Cooper is the gentleman who's in the video. He's one of the kids, or was one of the kids back in the 90s, and he wrote memoirs of what took place with these guys. In addition to him, there was Alvin Ross, Malcolm Hawkins, Preston Granberry, and Ray Hawkins Jr. The video, the documentary, is about their struggles, their failures, their challenges living in a community like the west side of Chicago. Some of the things that they endured and went through was parents, mothers, single mothers, who were addicted to heroin and other types of drugs. The challenges that they had just walking to and from school, and the things that took place. But whatever they had been going through, something sparked inside them, and they decided that they were going to become a rowing team. And they became the first all-black rowing team in the history of the United States to compete against many of the Ivy League competitors. Arshay had a dream for years to see a dramatic increase to the number of athletes of color named to the U.S. Olympic team in the year 2028. So this inspiring story demonstrates their failures, their successes, where they got pulled back into the arena of the life that they had known. It talks about family members and some of the heartbreaking stories of things that were taking place in the community where they lived. But it's not just about what happened to them in the 1990s, because what they did was they decided to come back together 20 years later for a reunion. and to again compete in the rowing competition. It was uplifting. It was educational. For me, it was very eye-opening because I got to see the real concept of some of the things that kids in poverty-stricken areas like that are dealing with and were dealing with, especially in that time. The movie was completed and slated to air earlier this year, but something else happened at that time, COVID-19. And so the video is now available on Peacock channel. I think that's through Xfinity, but it might be other places. And I encourage you to check it out because there's just so many beautiful pieces within this video. Because when they came back 20 years later, they had the idea that they wanted to shift and adjust the racial conflict that was going on between the residents of Chicago and the police department. And what they did was they invited police officers to join them in the competition. And that whole piece and how it unfolds and what you can see in the interaction between them and a group of white cops is priceless. I just found it so beautiful and so moving. I will caution you, it's not recommended for audiences under the age of 16. There's some pretty intense commentary that goes on in this particular video. We need more stories like this. We need more insights to the lives of people like these. And so I recommend the documentary, A Most Beautiful Thing. And in case you're wondering, the part that was so beautiful to them was the view that they had when they were out there on the water. And they couldn't hear the gunshots, and they couldn't hear the screeching tires, and they could just see a view of the city. This is my recommendation for each of you this week. Thank you. Please pray with me. As we just take time to breathe in and breathe out, may we remember that there is a power and a presence in all life. I call this power God. And what I know to be the truth for each and every one of us is that this power, this Godness, lives within each of us. We are connected to it and in it. And because of this, we are never alone. We never need to be frightened or scared or doubtful or distrusting because we can just breathe into the energy that is God, that is Spirit, and allow it to calm us and fill us. And so what I know today is that each and every person on planet Earth is blessed. Each one of us is guided by the very essence and energy that is God. And each one of us has the opportunity to live in love, to live in compassion with God, in God, and as God. And so as we just move through this time, through this day, may we remember where we came from. May we remember our source and how beautiful and valuable it is to each of us. And I call this time blessed, I call it perfect, and I call it good. And I let this go as we say together, and so it is. I recently celebrated my birthday. Actually, I'm still celebrating. And before you get stuck right there and think about that question that goes through everybody's mind that we're all afraid to ask, let me just say this. This is what 68 looks like, at least for me. And it's been a wonderful month, and it's been a wonderful time to be in this place, in this space. And what I have realized is that the last few weeks, I have been loved, honored, acknowledged. So many gifts have come to me. gifts of language, gifts of music, gifts of flowers, people who have just wanted to connect with me, people I haven't been in touch with for 20 years have shown up in my world these past few weeks through social media and all of those wonderful, safe ways that we are connecting nowadays. And it's been really beautiful. And so I remember that when I was a kid, I had one of these, I know you were all going to start thinking I was a crazy child, but I had one of these little habits where I would take toys or certain items that were my belongings, and I would wrap them in fabric or paper if I could find it, and I would hide them in my closet. And later, if I was looking for something and I ran across something that looked like a little wrapped package, I got so excited. Because at that moment, I might not remember what was in there, and to open it up and see what was in there was just such a thrill for me. And so what I was learning is how to be a receiver, how to receive gifts and enjoy them and cherish them. Back in the 1980s, there was a time when my two sons and I spent Christmas, just the three of us. And I went out and purchased a couple of small items for myself for Christmas. I wrapped them in paper. I put a tag on them. I used a different kind of handwriting so it didn't look like I had written out the card. And I put it to me from Santa. And I thought it was going to be so much fun on Christmas morning to be opening presents while my sons were opening presents. And it was. I enjoyed it. But what was so priceless for me was to watch their faces when they thought that maybe Mom had actually gotten some presents from some guy named Santa. All of these times for me were just practice sessions in learning how to receive. As we conclude the month of November and our theme of living as compassionate conduits, our talk title today is The Grateful and Cheerful Receiver. Ernest Holmes says this: life is ever giving of itself. We must receive, utilize, and extend the gift. Now here's what happens. We are taught to give. We are taught to give to the degree that I think many of us were given messages that it's not a good idea to receive or to be excited about receiving a gift, that you have to downplay it. You have to act like it's not that big of a deal. And we have learned these lessons really, really well. We have taken these childhood lessons and we've brought them into adult life, and someone will compliment one of us and we downplay it, or we don't even hear it, we don't even accept it. We don't even consider what was said. We become judgmental over gifts sometimes. And I think part of that's because if I act like it wasn't something I really wanted, or if it wasn't the right color, if it didn't quite suit me, then it's okay. It's okay to get it. One year my mother gave me an obnoxious sweater. It was kind of a royal blue, and it had these big squares all over it, and the squares were all different colors: red, orange, yellow, green. And I pulled it out of the package, and I just was kind of like surprised, and I asked her, "What possessed you to buy this for me?" And she said, "Well, I happen to know that you don't have anything like that in your wardrobe, and I thought it would look great on you." I wore that sweater till I wore it out. And if my mom was here today, I would wrap my arms around her and thank her for that hideous, obnoxious sweater, because it was a gift of love. So I was considering how this works. What is it about us that impairs our ability to accept or embrace gifts? And I think part of it is our own self-worth. Sometimes we just don't think we're worthy of someone giving to us. And because of that, we let that get in the way. If I don't think I'm worthy of receiving, I'm not even going to see the gifts that come my way. And this is a really important piece for us to get right here, because when we pray and affirm that something good is coming to us, if we don't feel worthy of receiving it, we're going to miss it. We're going to miss it, and then we're going to stumble along and complain that God doesn't answer our prayers. when the truth is our belief system about ourselves blocked it. So something to really look at this week. Brené Brown says this: when you get to a place where you understand that love and belonging, your worthiness, is a birthright and not something you have to earn, anything is possible. So let's take that message with us this week, that we don't have to earn the goodness that comes to us. We don't have to earn the gifts. We are worthy of them. If you remember correctly, there is a scripture in the Bible that starts out with, "In the beginning, God created." And then we hear all of the things that God created for us right here on planet Earth. We have been given amazing gifts. It is a deeply embedded part of our nature to know how to receive. It's one of our best and most beautiful birthrights. So we need to let go of the idea that we're not worthy and let go of any idea that we shouldn't just embrace the gifts that come to us. Because if you think about it, when you give to someone else, it usually lifts your spirits as well. So in the giving, you are receiving. So we don't need to call it one thing and then pretend it's not something it is. We can just look at it for what it is. And it is a gift to us. I remembered last year I shared a story in the New Dawn community about a little girl who was living in with a foster family. And during the time she was with this foster family, anytime they would go on vacation or go do something kind of fun and adventurous like families do, she was not allowed to go with them. She got to stay someplace else. And finally, she was adopted by an amazing, loving family. And they were planning a family trip to Disneyland. And right before they left for Disneyland, she did something wrong. And I can't remember what it was she did, but she knew that she had broken the house rules, the family rules. And what she knew in her heart was that she wasn't going to get to go to Disneyland. But this time in her life, something was different. She had a beautiful, amazing, loving family and a wonderful father. And what he said to her is, "You are now part of this family. And whatever this family does, you will be included. And that means we're all going to Disneyland." So I think we operate this way sometimes in our adult lives. We are fearful in relationship sometimes because if I don't do something that makes me worthy or makes you love me or care for me, then you might take something away from me. And we have perfect examples of this. I don't know what kind of disciplines took place in your household when you were children, but I know what took place in my household when my sons were children, because they had some amazing male figures in their lives who thought that if you did this, then you were restricted from this and restricted from this and restricted from this. And those losses of permissions and opportunities to go to school programs and things like that, when that's taken away from us, then we feel like we're just not worthy of having it. And so we want to pay attention to that, and if there is a need to heal that behavior somehow, but to remind ourselves every day that we are worthy. Ernest Holmes says this: "The universe is impersonal. It gives alike to all. It is no respecter of persons. It values each alike. Its nature is to impart, and ours is to receive." So my friends, this week let's take time. Let's take time to not only receive the gifts that are around us, but to take joy in them, to celebrate them, to be grateful for them, to appreciate them, and to know that we deserve it. We deserve it because we were created by the divine intelligence of the universe for a reason, for a purpose, to be joyful, to be loving, and to be filled with that anticipation, that grace, and that gratitude. So I'm reminded of a song that my son put together for my mother's memorial service. And at the close of the service, this song began to play, and it's one that has always touched my heart. And Jake turned to me and he said, "Mom, this one's for you." And so today I just want to share a few words from this song with you, because this is from my heart to yours, because I want you to know how much I appreciate what you have given me. And it goes like this. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. This week, I encourage you to raise one another up. I encourage you to feel the words and the message that I have just gifted to you, because you do this for me, each and every one of you. Even if you're showing up just as a person who viewed the talk or the message for that day, it touches my heart, because it helps me to know that what the work is that I'm doing is reaching someone. So let's take time to be cheerful and to be grateful and to be amazing receivers of all the good that is coming to us. Please pray with me. As we just move into this time of closing, this time together, this opening of inspiration and just being in that place of connection, we move through this and we let it go for now, knowing that even as we move away from this, whether we're moving away from the technology or moving into another room or going on to do something else, whatever that is, God is in all of it. May we remember this. May we know this. And may we accept and embrace the idea of receiving this week, knowing that good and more good comes to us. And the more we can receive and the more we can accept and the more we can embrace and be grateful for, the more that comes to us. Oh, and may each and every person who hears this message today know that we are all worthy of the gifts that come to us and the gifts from God. And so I know today that all people are blessed, all people are perfect. And my prayer goes out to those who are challenged and struggling. And whether it be hunger or anger and hatred or discrimination or whatever is showing up in the world today, may these things be eased. May we bring forth more and more love and compassion to serve one another, the community, and the world. I know life is good and blessed. I know it's perfect in the eyes and the mind of God. And so we just hold it there, hold it in that space. And we let this go. We let this message go. We let this prayer go. We turn it over to the mind of God, knowing that Spirit is already in action with whatever it is we are seeking and desiring. And it's perfect and it's good. And by God, it is done. And so it is.
I'm